If I can begin right here. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. We begin with a deep sense of gratefulness to our acharyas, in particular, as you can see the image behind of Swami Paramarthananda ji. We are blessed that so many of these acharyas have come into our lives. And see, none of us have left the comfort of our home or our professions. And yet, by the grace of these gurus, we've been able to get some insight into the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, for which we are extremely grateful to these acharyas who have brought these messages along. We are not qualified teachers. We are grihasthas. We are like anybody else. But the only opportunity we've had is we've had an opportunity to spend some time passionately learning these scriptures. And I can say with confidence that all those who are presenting are not going to make any mistakes, because when you have a person who's not formally trained, one of the concern is, are they going to introduce something wrong? So as long as we are basing our teaching on the basis of a particular teaching, we are not going to go wrong. About that, I'm going to assure you that we are going to have authentic material that is going to be brought to you. So what we will be doing we will be bringing the Bhagavad Gita in chapter wise, and each of the speakers are given a freedom to bring the chapter in a very informal, in their own way, so that there is not going to be too much of inputs. It is going to be, depending upon each speaker. Each speaker has a choice whether they want to make it interactive or they would like to share their understanding. Most of the speakers don't wish to speak for more than maybe half an hour or at the most 45 minutes. Some would welcome interaction, some would not welcome interactions. So I will leave it to each speaker. We have two very good speakers today, Dr. Komal and his wife. And Sajani, I will leave it to you to see how you'd like to begin. And from you on to Dr. Komal and his wife.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. It is 2023, and I wish everyone a very, very happy, healthy, and joyful new year. I would like everyone to keep their audio on mute because we are recording all these sessions. The school is very, very grateful and thankful to Dr. Hegde and his team, Param Vedanta, for agreeing to do the 18 chapters for us beginning today. As Doctor said, every Thursday, 6:30, we will have one chapter and we will end with the 18th chapter. Today, we're really, really happy that we have, as Doctor said, two very, good people, two renowned doctors, Dr. Komal and his wife Shobha, who will be doing chapter 1 with us. So a warm welcome to you. And I request Ramesh to kindly introduce Dr. Komal and Dr. Shobha. Over to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Sajani. Right, so we're really looking forward to these sessions, especially Dr. Hegde is really, it's like a gift, Dr. Hegde and his team, to come here for these programs at the School of Ancient Wisdom. I've experienced Dr. Hegde's satsangs earlier. It really feels more like you are listening to a yogi than just a doctor. So an accomplishment in both areas, material and spiritual. I have a write-up on Dr. Komal and Dr. Shobha. And doctors, it is wonderful to have you here because, as it were, doctors are highly respected in society. And on top of it, doctors who are seekers is a double bonus because, people who come across them will be addressed in all dimensions, mind, body, and spirit. Dr. Komal Prasad is a senior consultant and neurosurgeon practicing at Narayana Hridayalaya for over 16 years, an ardent follower of Swami Paramarthananda. He is a seeker of truth with a special interest in Advaita Vedanta, neurosciences, and consciousness studies. He's a principal assessor of the National Board of Hospitals and Healthcare Providers, NABH, the Quality Council of India. He was instrumental in revision of the NABH accreditation standards for hospitals an executive MBA. He holds with distinction a postgraduate diploma in hospital and healthcare management, amongst other things. He's also an executive committee member of the Young Neurosurgeons Forum of the World, Federation of Neurosurgical Societies, WFNS. Practicing at Narayana Health.
Kindly mute yourself.
Practicing at Narayana Health for over 16 years, he's actively involved in postgraduate training in neurosurgery. He started neurosurgery services at Health City, Cayman Islands, which is an ambitious project of Narayana Health in the Caribbean. Now, when it comes to Dr. Shobha, she's a consultant pediatric hemato-oncologist, I hope I got that right, and bone marrow transplant physician, practicing at Narayana Health for over 12 years. She's completed her postgraduate training in pediatrics from the prestigious BMC, Bangalore Medical College. After practicing in a neonatal intensive care unit in Kerala, and later as an assistant professor of pediatrics in Bangalore, she did her fellowship in comprehensive hemato-oncology. Please pardon the hissing in the back. She's rank holder in Bharatanatyam and is currently pursuing Indian classical music. So it is wonderful to have you doctors on board today. Thank you so much. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you. Over to you all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ramesh. Now it's over to Dr. Komal and Dr. Shobha. As you can see, highly qualified people, and we look forward to their talk on chapter 1. Over to you, Dr. Komal and Dr. Shobha.
Thank you, Madam Sajani. Pranams to our Guru, Dr. Timappa Hegde, and thanks to Ramesh for that introduction. Today we are here as fellow seekers, and our topic for today is Bhagavad-Gita. So, over years with Guru's Anugraha, we are fortunate to tread this path of being seekers, and whatever we have learned and we have gotten excited about, and the subtle transformation which is occurring in us. So we want to share that through Guru's words. Most of it is what Guru has taught us, and some analogies here and there with our own experiences. So with this background, so today's topic will start, that is chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Let me know if audio and video is okay. Oh, thank you.
Do we need this poster? Are you using the slides? If not, we will get you on. Will you be
I will be using the slides. So
okay, then that's fine. That's fine. All right.
And are you seeing the complete slide, or is there anything over it?
No, we can see the slide.
Okay, thank you. And then let it be interactive today. So I see a lot of you with keen interest you have joined in this weekday evening. Thank you for that. So I'll be stopping in between, and whenever there is, you can raise your hands, and in the end, we can again have a interactive question and answer session. So the first chapter of Gita, Bhagavad Gita, is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. In fact, it is not a teaching. Generally, we assume that whole of Bhagavad Gita is teaching of Lord Krishna to Arjuna. But the chapter 1 is an exception. It is actually a description of story. It creates a background context in which this teaching happens. And it's aptly termed as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada is sorrow. How sorrow overpowers and deludes Arjuna is the topic of this chapter. We will start today's session with Gita Dhyana Shlokas. Dr. Shobha will be chanting the Gita Dhyana Shlokas. These shlokas are a prelude or an introduction to Bhagavad Gita, which was written by a great Acharya called Madhusudana Saraswati, much later after Vyasa composed the Bhagavad Gita. It's a kind of, it is about the various aspects. It's a prayer before any Bhagavad Gita study is started. over to Dr. Shobha for Gita Dhyana Shlokas.
ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता ध्यानम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिता भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे उल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णाखिलपाण्डवैः रणनदी कैवर्तिका केशवा पाराशर्यवच सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधना बोधितम्। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिना श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। just heard the Gita Dhyana Shlokas. This is the essence of Upanishads. Sarvopanishado Gao Dogda Gopala Nandana. So here Madhusudana Saraswati says, Sarva Upanishado, all the Upanishads are like the cows. Dogda, the milkman, is Gopala Nandana, Lord Krishna. And who is the calf? Arjuna is the calf. In front of the cow will easily let the milkman to take the milk. And who are going to enjoy that Gita Amrita? We, the seekers, we are blessed by this incident in which Lord has taught the essence of Upanishads through Bhagavad Gita to all of us. We all know of how this Zoom meeting started. When this COVID started, that's how all of us started this, and how nicely and smoothly it is being followed now. So this got our attention into our own health, this pandemic of COVID, the physical aspect of our health. WHO, the World Health Organization, defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of a person, as well as a spiritual dimension also, and not merely an absence of disease or infirmity. That's the WHO definition of health, which was made many decades ago, and it is still the apt definition of health. It contains what we have to note today, two dimensions. One is the physical dimension, and the second one is the psychological dimension, the mental health. When we see what contributes to our health, we can see like we are bombarded by multiple microorganisms, multiple bacteria, viruses like COVID. Till today, we wear our masks. Like inside our houses, we are not, but still that scare is there. We protect ourselves from outside environment, the diseases, by keeping those microorganisms away, avoiding accidents, wearing helmet. So we have ways to prevent this physical external agencies to affect us. It is said that even if a person with COVID, also we can take an example, particularly classically it's told about tuberculosis, active tuberculosis. If a person coughs in front of 10 people, only 3 or 4 may get the disease, not everybody. Why is it so? That's because the rest will have an immunity within themselves, a sort of resistance, unknowingly, by birth as well, because of our bombardment of microorganisms, the experiences which have created antibodies in our body. We have developed immunity to the microorganisms. So that's the inner resistance. Okay, there's external factors which will affect us as diseases, and internal factors is developed by natural immunity, as well as like how we saw during COVID, all of us would have taken COVID vaccine. That gives us immunity. So we have to think of both internal as well as external factors. External is the objective factors and internal is the subjective factors. It's quite easy to understand logically this one. But when it comes to a psychological dimension of health, we need to investigate it further to see what are the external factors, what are the internal factors. Are there only external factors, or internal factors also play a role in our mental health? The external factors are like we get worries. Why do we get worries? External factors, maybe like the bus didn't come in time, the flight is delayed, the car gave problems, traffic, potholes, pollution. And then our interaction with our friends, family, colleagues, and the people around us, the neighborhood. we expect something and that doesn't happen. So there will be some personality issues. It may be in the workplace, at your house itself, or with your neighbors. So we expect the environment to be in a particular relation with us. And if it does not happen that way, we get agitated. So we are bombarded, like how we physically get bombarded by many other physical issues. We get bombarded by the psychological issues with our interactions with the surroundings with us. Then when we look into what can be our inner strength, what can be our inner aspect, the subjective aspect of our mental well-being, then we have to see how we can build our inner resistance. It is our choice to behave in a certain way and react to a given circumstance. So that's the free will which we have. And like how not everybody who get exposed to COVID gets the disease, some people don't get affected. You can see people around us, they will just like a ball, they will just spring back, whatever may be the circumstances. And they're back to their smiling faces, back to what they need to do in their lives. How to get that resistance, inner resistance, that is the subject matter of Gita. In fact, of all the scriptures, to guide us, to give us a manual about how to live life. What we see in life is eternal happiness. We want eternal peace, security, and happiness. So now this slide summarizes how to lead a healthy life, physical and psychological dimensions. We saw the external factors in environment and internal factors, our immunity. Psychologically speaking, external factors in environment are the circumstances, and inner factors, the internal factors, are to develop inner resistance, the immunity about how we react to circumstances. And Gita's position is here. And that's these scriptures are the ultimate ways which will give us a guideline about how to live life happily. I told you about some people who would spring back to action whenever, whatever the circumstances, whatever the world throws at them. How to assess the success of your inner growth of resistance is by a mnemonic called FIR. We all know FIR. So this is one way in which we can measure how we are progressing in our goal of attaining inner resistance to the circumstances in the world. Frequency, intensity, and recovery. Life is like a balancing a bicycle. It's not that not a day, not a moment goes without us having that fear of falling down. But what a skilled rider does is, whatever may be the circumstances, he gets back automatically into position. In the early period, we see the frequency in which the rider tends to go off balance will be more. But as he is more mature, those frequencies will reduce. Similarly, when you develop your inner resistance, that power backed by Gita study, we see them get back, spring back to action soon, and the frequency in which they go off balance will be less. And the intensity, the falls which were so usual initially, will become less and less. And the recovery happens quite quickly. If you get angry, the time taken to get back earlier may be taking weeks together, months together. That gradually gets less and less. It's not, we can't shoo away this because these are external factors. Only thing what we have is how we react to that and reduce this frequency, intensity, recovery. That is the transformation we are looking at. So there are two technical terms which I want to introduce right away. First is samsara, and second one is moksha. What is samsara? Samsara is self-dissatisfaction. Okay. So this is a simple definition what we can say. When we hear this moksha, samsara, or this kind of Sanskrit terms, initially we get kind of apprehension about what it actually means, and we will have our own view about what that term means. So for the purpose of this study, we are going to this seeking of inner peace. Keep this as the definition. Samsara is self-dissatisfaction, the syndrome which causes self-dissatisfaction. That's the disease. And moksha is the opposite of that, total satisfaction with myself. Not just that, total satisfaction with myself as I am. Not worried about the wanting for a change. Okay, there's nothing else to do after that. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. That's the state of total satisfaction, eternal happiness. That is moksha. We are looking at this transformation, and this is what we are expecting to get out of our Gita study and scriptural studies. So next slide, we'll see the phases of transformation. Whenever a patient comes to a doctor, the first step is to identify the disease. You have to discover the problem. Here, in this transformation, in our spiritual transformation, the first phase is to discover the problem of samsara, the disease of samsara. And the next stage will be to have a sincere longing for freedom. Many people will have disease. Not everybody goes to the doctor. So I see with back pain. As I am seeing patients, even I will get some kind of back pain because I will be sitting for long. But I don't recognize it as a problem. Okay, they say everybody has backache, so why you should get troubled with that? So I will not investigate it further. I am okay with that problem. So unless I have that longing to come out of the problem, I don't do anything about it. That's the longing for freedom. So many people get stuck in this discovery phase itself. First is to discover the problem of samsara. What is the problem of samsara? How does it affecting us? How does it affect us? And second is to feel how that I have to come out of it. Enough is enough. Like it's a pebble in your shoe, for example. You keep walking, you are already late and you have to go to that particular platform or that gate in the to board a flight, and you have this small pebble inside your shoe. You keep moving in spite of that pain because it's okay, because what is more important is to get there in time. But when it becomes too much of a problem, you feel that sudden longing to come out of that. Wherever you are, you will drop your luggage, sit down, maybe on the floor, take off your shoe and take out the pebble, right? That is mumukshutvam, that immediate need, that kind of urge which should come after you discover the problem of samsara. That's the phase 2. The third stage will be to know our limitations. Not all the problems are solvable by our own hands. How many of you believe that there is no limit to human potential? Can I have a raise of hands? Okay, anybody can answer, unmute and answer. Is there a limit to human potential? Are there any limitations to humans? Why should we assume that someday or now or any phase of this transformation that we are helpless? And we are seeing the next phase is surrender. What makes that we need to surrender to a guru to get the treatment? Think about it. We'll get answers as we go further. To aid you, I will give you an example. Is it possible to see our nose as it is? Or what will we do if something falls in our eyes? Can we see it ourselves? Eyes are the instruments for vision, right? But if something falls in our eyes, are we capable of seeing it? Or do we ask the person next to us, can you please help me? Can you just see? I feel something went into my eye. I feel it's getting red, maybe dust or something. That's the limitation. Our own face, we have never seen as it is. We take help of mirror or we ask other people. Our own self is something which is beyond what we can perceive. There's a limitation. And unless you get to the point of limitation, we won't progress further in our study of self-transformation. The next phase will be surrender. Once we know we are helpless, we need to surrender to a guru. Here again, our ego comes into play. Human being, one more human being, why do you take help of a guru? Why do you need to surrender? The whole world is my guru. People say every experience is a guru. So they have various reasons to say not to surrender. So that's the fourth phase which we come to. So we'll get to each one of these as we go further. And the treatment, once we surrender to the guru, is imparted by him. The truth is only one. One way to realize the truth is our Gita study. Okay? That's the treatment. We are seeing Gita as the treatment for this problem of samsara, problem of the world. And solution, what we are looking at, that's like eternal peace and happiness. What happens in the first chapter? I told you this is a story. It is the actual teaching does not happen here. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna discovers the problem of samsara. That's the problem of samsara is divided into, it's a syndrome. Diseases are termed as syndromes when 2-3 things which are overtly different go together. Actually, if you find the cause, all 3 are linked. But when they appear overtly as 3 separate things which happen together, like diabetes will have a syndrome of urination, feeling a lot of appetite, wanting to drink a lot of water, and getting sweaty and tired too soon. So these are looking disparate, but they all fall into the same disease. Like that, the problem of samsara has 3 different distinct aspects, which one lead to the other. First one is raga, attachment. Second one is shoka, sorrow. And third is moha, delusion. We would have heard these terms very often, whatever language is your mother tongue, whether you have learned Sanskrit or not, these 3 we keep listening about being in India, raga, shoka and moha. So I want to alert you that as we go today, we will know the actual definitions for in the context of Gita study, in the context of our self-inquiry. So take it raga as the attachment, shoka as the sorrow, and moha is the delusion. Okay? So I will come to that again as we go further. The next step is to discover the helplessness. And then he will impart Gita Shastra. Okay, so that's the simplest, quickest capsule form, the essence of our Upanishadic literature, the essence of truth, which Krishna brings out through Gita Shastra. Otherwise called Moksha Shastra. Gita is a Moksha Shastra. We are addressing a team from School of Ancient Wisdom, right? So this is the ancient wisdom. This is not for without reason that this Shastra has survived for so many hundreds and thousands of years, right? So there is something in it, that wisdom, which is hidden inside this Gita Shastra, the Moksha Shastra, which will make people to ponder over it, look for solutions whenever in trouble, surrender, try to tease out that, like the juice within the sugar cane. So there is something hidden, the ancient wisdom which is hidden inside this Gita. Many of you would have studied Gita time and again, time and again. It's not like most of the people nowadays would have made an attempt to study Gita in various phases of life. Unless we have that thing in mind, one way to have the most useful way to utilize this Gita Shastra is to take it as a Moksha Shastra. Always think that there is this ancient wisdom hidden, that ancient jewel hidden inside, the truth hidden inside these 18 chapters. And that's the one which we are seeking in this. As we see the main topic of the chapter 1, we'll go through some of the verses. And for the ease of understanding, the first chapter is divided into these 5 phases. The first one is description of the armies and preparations. The next one, the Arjuna's chariot being placed in the middle of the armies at his request. Third, there is a change in Arjuna's mind leading to attachment, the raga. Then comes Arjuna's grief, and that leads to delusion, Arjuna's moha. So we'll see the text, and Dr. Shobha will be chanting some of the selected verses here in each of this category. We find in the first 20 verses a vivid description of the armies arrayed for the battle. After a brief instruction of Duryodhana to his commanders, Bhishma, Lord Krishna, Arjuna, and others, they blow their conches, signaling commencement of the battle. The first verse will start from the blind king Dhritarashtra's words to Sanjaya. Sanjaya is relaying like a live relay, like the Zoom meeting. He has the divine sight, and he can see what is happening in the Kurukshetra battle, and he is reporting to the king. And Dhritarashtra asks what his sons and Pandavas and Kauravas, what they are doing in the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Om Atha Prathamodhyayah Arjuna Vishada Yogaha Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya Sanjaya Uvacha Drushtva tu Pandavanikam Yudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit.
At this fateful moment, Arjuna commands Lord Krishna, his charioteer, to place the chariot in the middle of the army to scrutinize the enemy forces. Everything is ready for the battle. Now everybody has
Kindly mute everyone. We can hear some sounds. I would like everyone to keep their audio on mute. Please carry on, Doctor.
Yeah, Arjuna commands Lord Krishna to place the chariot. Now Arjuna is Krishna is still Parthasarathi. He is not still the teacher to Krishna, Arjuna now. He is still Parthasarathi. He is the charioteer. Arjuna says, take me to the middle, and I want to see the people who I am going to fight. He is fully ready to wage the war. The mischievous Lord does here, he brings the chart in front of Bhishma and Drona. That's the senior-most figures in the army which Arjuna reveres. He would have brought Arjuna in front of Duryodhana, Dushasana, about whom he had, his blood would have boiled and he would have immediately started the war. But he hards and he mischievously brings the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona and asks Arjuna to survey the army. This is what we see in verses 21 to 25.
Atha vyavasthitan drishtva dhartarashtan kapidvajah pravritte shastra sampate dhanurudhyam pandava rishikesham tada vakyam idamaham mahipate. Arjuna Uvacha सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयामीति च यावदेतानिरीक्षेऽहं युद्धं कामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे.
Till now, Arjuna was convinced that his cousins are unrighteous and that he, as a Kshatriya, is entitled and it's his duty to fight the battle to establish dharma, the righteous. In a moment of weakness, Arjuna slips down after seeing Bhishma and Drona. He slipped down from reason to relation. He relates the good times in which he was playing with his own cousins and the grandsires, his teachers, his grandfather. Okay. And instead of seeing violators of dharma, when he's actually facing them, he sees his beloved kith and kin.
तत्र पश्य स्थितान् पार्थ पितॄन् सपितामहान् आचार्यान् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखीस्तथाम् श्वशुरान् सुहृदश्चैव सेनयोरुभयोनपि तानुसमीक्ष्य कौन्तेय सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान् अर्जुन उवाच कृपया परयाविष्टः विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत् दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सं समुपस्थितम्.
Here, naturally, Arjuna is overpowered with attachment, raga. Then follows the twin offshoots of raga, of attachment. Those are the grief and delusion, which we see from verses 26 to 30. And further in the next 5 verses, we see Arjuna expressing his intense grief, which shakes him completely. This indicates the extent of his raga.
गाण्डीवं संसते हस्तात् त्वच्चैव परित्यहते न च शक्नोम्यवेशान्तु भ्रमतीव च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च शङ्ख्यसुखानि च किं नो राज्यो न गोविन्द किं नो भोगैर्यजीवितैः वा.
We see in the next 5 verses Arjuna expressing his intense grief, which shakes him completely, exposing his extent of raga.
एतान्नहन्तुमिच्छामि घ्नतोऽपि मधुसूदना अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य कुतोऽपि न महीकृते तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तु धार्तराष्ट्रान् सबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखीनस्यं Madhava.
So now the grief has set in. His hands are trembling, his mouth has become dry, and the Gandhiva, his great, the bow is falling off from his hand. And in that stage, veiled by attachment, his discriminative power becomes inoperative, and he commits a series of false judgment. Interestingly, Arjuna even quotes from the same scriptures to support his unreasonable stand. He wants to run off. He feels, why should we fight this war and kill his own people? Arjuna gets caught up in delusion, which is depicted from 36th verse up to the end of the chapter. That's 36 to 47, 35 to 47.
अहो बत महापापं कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयम् यद्राज सुखलोभेन हन्तु स्वजनमुद्यता यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्ररणे हन्यु तन्मे क्षेमरं भवेत् सञ्जय उवाच एवमुक्त्वार्जुन सङ्ख्ये रथोपस्थौपाविशत् विसृज्यं सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अर्जुनविषादयोगो नाम प्रथमोऽध्यायः.
It's the end of the story. We saw the problem of samsara, the syndrome of samsara, which has three parts: attachment, grief, and delusion. We all face this problem every day, no exception. We just need to put that template in our lives, to our experiences, and see how we are dealing with this. I will take this simple story from Aesop's fables. We all know, just by seeing the slide, you would have realized what I'm going to talk about. The little fox who gets attached to the juicy fruit, the grapes in the vineyard, which is hung up there and difficult to reach. And then it tries hard, jumping and jumping again and again to reach it. Then gets the sorrow because it's beyond its reach. How much ever it jumps, it's not reachable. Then what does it do? Stays there for a while, looks at it, and then makes up a story that the grapes are sour, walks away. The attachment of the fox was to get that juicy fruit. And it makes its attempt, jumping again and again, but in vain. Then that sorrow sets in that it's unable to get it. How do you come out of that grief? You create a story. You create a context. You create a reason why this didn't happen. That is moha, delusion. As I said, these terms have specific meanings here. This is moha. We create what actually happened today when you met that person, when you met your boss, when you met your colleague, when you met your neighbor. Did it actually happen, or is there a way in which, suppose an alien comes from Mars and sees you two people talking to each other, animated? What do they note down in their logbook if they have in their hand? They're just two people making some signs and something from their mouths, right? The story of that interaction happens in our own minds. That's one defense mechanism in which we can lead our lives in spite of so much of uncertainties, to get fresh for the next episode of our experience. If it becomes too much, then we feel it as a problem. As I told you about my backache, do we ever realize that this attachment, grief, and this kind of stories we create in our everyday lives, is it a problem? Unless we notice this as a problem, we will not look for any solution. For Arjuna, in this story, it so happened that he realized this problem of samsara. He got attached to his own kith and kin and felt that grief, that I shouldn't be doing this. How can I? This anticipatory grief of killing his own kith and kin. Then in the deluded mind, he develops stories, he develops reasons why he should not be fighting the war. He gives 2-3 ways. Like he says, like, our own kith and kin, isn't it, Papa, a sin to do this? My own relatives. And then he goes on to quote scriptures also, that this is bad, we should not, ahimsa, everything. It's like to, now for an independent mind, we can say he's a Kshatriya. He's the one person entrusted by society to fight this righteous war and bring dharma back. But he here is telling that he would rather go begging than wage this war and kill his own people. So that's the wrong interpretation, wrong logic which he uses because of moha, the delusion. He says, I will run away. I can just beg and lead my life somewhere. I can't kill these people. It will bring papa to me, sin. It is like us looking at a judge and judge thinking that this criminal, he has his wife and kids back home and can't sentence him to prison. So that will be extremely wrong, because the society has given to keep that righteousness, is giving that power to take that person to prison because of his wrongdoings. If he is not following his dharma of being a judge, or if Arjuna misses being Kshatriya and does not wage a war, he will be actually doing adharma. But that for the deluded mind, it doesn't look like that. He drops down the Gandhiva and he says, I can't. And at that moment, he sees the syndrome. It's not just the delusion. All the three, okay, this is happening as a syndrome together. Because of this attachment, there is a grief, and that is leading to my imagination. That story is what I am creating to convince myself. Now it's so confusing and it's so complex. How to deal with it? He gets to a point of, that's what we generally do. When we get ill, we try whatever is available at home to clear our throats, to clear our fever, or this thing, or whatever our friends have told, whatever medicines we have at home. Initially, we try ourselves to correct ourselves, to treat ourselves, up to a point. When it goes beyond a point, we feel helpless. That is when we look for help. This is what happens to Arjuna. He understands this problem of samsara, and he feels that helplessness. That is the end of chapter 1. Like most of the TV serial end when some important aspect is happening, Vyasacharya stops the story here in the first chapter and starts the second chapter. Second chapter, the further things happen in Arjuna's mind. We'll see what happens there. That helplessness will come in. That wound. This is a famous saying by Rumi. You would have heard of Rumi, a great Islamic mysticist who lived in Middle Ages. The wound is the place where light enters you. You would have seen in your own batches many years ago, or even recently, people who would have passed every exam in flying colors. Whatever exam he writes, first rank. He writes IIT JEE, first rank. NEET examination for medical, first rank. You take UPSC examination for AAS, first rank. So if you are blessed with that kind of intelligence, there's no reason, everything is goody for you. There's no reason you make an effort to understand the problem of samsara. What is the delusion I am having? What is the story I am having about this world around me? How I can make it better, and what is my actual truth inside me? So we need that pain and sorrow. These are the prerequisite ingredients to look into our inner selves. I said, what about my eyes? He said, keep them on the road. So this is the way to lead our lives. What about my passion? Keep it burning. But what about my heart? Tell me what you hold inside it. There's a deep sorrow. Then keep it. Let it be that way. Stay with it. The wound is the place where light enters you. The light here is the truth, the eternity, the ancient wisdom we are looking at. And that's required. And this is the first chapter. Arjuna going these three phases to understand the problem of samsara and getting into the next step. He passed that entrance examination to become an ideal candidate in which your cup is empty and you are ready to be getting that Gitamrita, that nectar of wisdom from Krishna. Further, it happens in the further steps happens in the second chapter, which we will be studying in the next session. What is important, the next session is, once you understand the problem of samsara, the disease, you should have that sincere longing for freedom, mumukshatvam. Unless you have that sincere longing, you can't take the next step. Mumukshutvam is that desire. The only desire you are allowed in life is mumukshutvam, about knowing this eternal truth, about your true nature. Let me attain moksha, the liberation. That intense yearning is mumukshutvam. This story goes that once Guru and Shishya was frustrated staying in the ashram for years together. But Guru is not going forward in his teaching, and he is wanting to know the further next steps to graduate further. But for some reason, Guru feels he is not ready, and enough is enough. Shishya tells Guru one day that, Guruji, I have stayed loyal to you and stayed in your house for so long, for 17 years or so, but still I am here and I am yet to know what the truth is. Guru just tells him to come with him early morning to the river nearby. Both of them go there, and one instruction that he should not speak. And Guru signals the Shishya to enter into water. As they go a little deeper, up to the neck deep, Guru is silent, Shishya is silent. Suddenly, Guru holds the head of Shishya and pushes it deep into water. Sudden unexpected motion of the Guru, and he feels breathless, and he feels that Guru is testing him and he has to stay inside water. 1 minute goes, 2 minutes goes, expert swimmer, he can stand for a while. But after a certain time, he feels something is wrong. Guru is doing something mischievous and it's my life and I have to come out of it. He springs back. Being an obedient Shishya, he held for some time, but he springs back, gasping for air, and takes his head out of water and starts running outside. Guru at that moment smiles and says, you are yearning to know the truth, to be this much of this intensity, when you thought nothing else matters and my breath is what is the one which is mattering the most for my life at present. Once your yearning for truth comes to that level, that mumukshutvam, that need to get liberated, that's when you are ready to receive the truth, receive the teaching from me. So that's the essential next step. It's not for a cursory observer. Okay, I have many other things today, this week, once a week, I will go through this Gita. This is not archaeology, where you are not studying something, how Egyptian mummies were made. It's not like how they were transacting and how they had the town planning in some ancient civilization. No, we are not seeing that. The essence of Gita is something else. And we need to yearn for it. Only then we can go to the next step. It's the next step. Know your limitations, know your helplessness. Wander through this with Google Gita, Google whatever material you feel will take you there. And get stuck somewhere. That's the limitation. As I said, to know your inner self, a mirror itself is not enough. You should know that somebody to hold that mirror in the proper direction and tell you, explain your true nature. That's when you understand that need to surrender to a guru. Take out your ego and surrender. And then that treatment, that Gitamrita Sudha will flow into you. You should be an empty bowl to receive it through surrender. So this is the chapter 1 what we discussed today. What's the time? 7:30, exactly 1 hour now. So we have time for discussion and being interactive. I will close my slides here. Thank you very much. And we are open for discussion and any questions. Yes.
Dr. Komal, it was really good, the summary of the first chapter and how you have related